Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh my gosh. Now I'm amazing.
You're so sweet. First and foremost, thank you so much for making time to chat with me.
Like, what else are we doing during
Right?
Come on.
Well, according to your stories and your Instagram, I'm loving wherever you are or whatever you're doing with Donnie.
Yes, my son.
I am quite envious. So, as far as I can tell, you are doing stuff with your time, and I'm loving it.
Him and I are taking some road trips. We've had some mini road trips to nature, to the grocery store, wherever I can get out of the house with him in the car. It's a good day for me. So
I'm truly loving it. Like, honestly, most people that I'm following, friends and family,
right,
is always confined indoors, and then I see your content, and I'm like, is this old content she's posting? Is she really taking trips? I'm loving it. I think it's something that we should be really grateful for. Oh, yes. Thank you. Because I also have a bunch of friends out on the East Coast, in New York, that are like confined to their apartments. I couldn't think of anything worse.
I feel so grateful that, today, I don't know where you are at, but today it's like 90 out. So yeah, it's amazing.
Beautiful. I literally to escape my household, because I'm actually sharing space with 4 kids, right, and Guy. I try to escape the house as much as there's only so many walks and runs I can do. So I actually found myself out in the front yard under our big old magnolia tree, and I was loving it for the first 40 minutes until the kids wanted to come out and started having conversations, which I'm grateful for too. But you know
we're so grateful for them. But no, I know we're gonna get into that, because I know that being a stepmom to any kid, let alone, is it 3 or 4 boys?
I have 4 of them. Yeah, exactly. That's what I do.
You are an absolute rock star. So I think with having 1 fur baby boy, like, I get it, but having 4 real life human boys is a whole other ball game here.
And they eat a lot, girl. They eat a lot. Anywho,
your grocery bill is probably insane.
It's crazy. Like, we have to leave quite often, and I'm actually getting. It's kind of funny because we make it the time where we can kind of escape the kids for a minute.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I hate going and I hate waiting in line, but at the same time, it's kind of like, it's kind of nice not to hear just the madness from the house. So it's like, double-edged sword, or like the bliss with the horrible part of it. But it is what it is. But listen.
I know we could talk forever about it. I was going to say, I don't know how you find your peace when there's that much. It's just natural chaos, like that's just, it's natural chaos.
Yeah. And I think especially in times like this, I tend to feel kind of guilty when I want to complain about something, when everybody is sitting there talking about, oh, we should be grateful for our time together and time spent with family. And I get it. Absolutely. I'm totally, we're doing things that we wouldn't normally do. I get all the blissful things about being in this new normalcy, but at the same time, for somebody, and it's funny, Tamra, because I think that we're really similar in a sense that self-care, self-love, and all these things that we do to honor our space and energy is kind of similar. And I've only met you 1 time.
I know.
With that said, I know that you would understand that for me to kind of escape what it is here, just for some peace of mind, or I can just channel my energy onto something else outside of homework and this question and whether or not I need to referee this game because I keep fighting each other, little things like that. So it has been really tough, and again, I feel guilty by saying, oh my gosh, this feels
but you've also never been in this situation before. Granted, most of the world hasn't, but also you being a stepmom, every day is a new challenge you haven't prepared for in your life, and so it's like, okay, this new challenge comes up and I've been really good at doing these things, and now here comes this, and I have to assess my own personal space, and you're just getting to know all this kind of all over again. And so I give you so much credit and props for being able to do that.
I truly appreciate you.
Yeah.
So this is what's really interesting. When I think when I first connected with Maureen, when we were talking about who we'd like to chat with, I said, oh my gosh, we need to hear that Tamra. I was like, and she goes, well, do you know her? And I didn't know how to answer that because I'm like, I do know her, we've met, but I've been following her, but I kind of just knew you from the surface. But I kid you not, we met which kind of feels like not long ago, but it was a long time ago.
It was probably like 3 months ago now.
Was it 3 months?
I think. I don't. Girl, time is like fleeting.
It could be 3 months. It could be 6 months, and I would be like, yeah, okay, that's what it was.
You know, it could have been a year, and I'm like, it was yesterday. It was like 3 days.
Exactly. Time is a weird thing. But with all that said, it's funny. I only knew you, and the other people also in the meeting from just a very surface level, just through social media and Instagram. But to hear you speak, I found myself like, oh wow, like she's definitely somebody that's like that's tribe-like
as you. Exactly.
Oh really? That was really good. Yeah, because you were talking and I was like, oh okay, she's not just like this beautiful fitness chick with this amazing body that I resonate with. Like you're so much more than that. And I love that the fact that I had this opportunity to speak to you about, again, not necessarily, oh, what's your favorite workout exercise, which might be something people know about. But like there's gonna be more stuff. And so I'm personally actually really excited to have this chat with you.
Thanks.
So again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I've got a few questions and we'll go straight to the meat and potatoes of it all so we don't have to fluff around.
Perfect. I'm German, so meat and potatoes are what we do.
Respectful of yours and Donnie's time.
Yeah, no, we're good.
And then if you've got a few more minutes, I have this like quick little rapid questions game to play with you, which I think is always fun towards the end. So again, this must be a general and casual conversation. I've been asking people this because this personally is a question that I'm interested in because it was once asked to me and I had no idea how to answer it.
Okay.
But I want to know, how would you define yourself without mentioning what you do for a living? And if you want me to give you an example, I'll give you an example.
Oh no, you don't have to give me an example because girl, if you want to talk about being an introspective person and someone who knows themselves and the goods and the bads, that is one of the key things that I actually like have been battling with for years is my identity through doing, through achieving, through works, if you will. So in unearthing kind of who Tamra is outside of those things,
love it.
I guess I mean, it's what I'm working on. I'll be totally transparent with you, like figuring out my personality or just who I am on this planet without the things that I do has not been an easy journey.
Sure. Yeah.
I held my worth tied up into those things. So it was really like once I stripped them away and really, that's not only a personal thing, it's like societal pressure looking at us like, and also living in LA my whole life, that's the first question someone asks you is, what do you do? Exactly. So you strip it away and you go, okay, well, who is this person behind the physicality, behind all the things that I do? And I would define myself as a creative connector. I'm in my element when I'm creating, and I have to be in connection with people. I have my own times to be alone and to be self-reflective, and I do love my alone time, but I thrive in these like one-on-one. Big crowds sometimes are not my thing unless I'm like standing in the front talking, and then that's my thing. But like if it's mingling with a whole bunch of people, I get really like antisocial and I get a bit of anxiety because I'm actually quite an introvert when it comes to a large amount of energy. But when I'm just one-on-one with someone that I know can grasp like on the intellect level, on an energy level, spiritual level, that is my jam. Like that's where I feel like I thrive the most and I can contribute the most and feel the most purposeful, so
I love that. So you mentioned creating and essentially connecting, so the two C words. When you talk about creating, what specifically are you referring to?
Okay, so in the past that had usually been about creating business or being entrepreneurial, something that is tangible, touch, see, feel, and somebody can give me and this is like where my ego came in, is like can give me praise or can give me a response to the thing I've created. And in this whole journey I've been in about learning about myself, I truly now just love the idea of creating for the sake of tapping into that part of, we're all creative beings, right? But like I was such a achievist that was like, if I'm not winning this art competition, or if I'm not the best this, or can't create the most fly like designs, then I don't even want to create. So I had to strip all that away and go, what does it feel like to just be in the flow, be in the like, and that's, for me, that's like the midnight to 3 a.m. and the idea just came to my mind, and I want to like sketch it all out, or draw out the business plan, or design the bottles, or, I mean, that's essentially like, I do that in my sleep, you know, like I can't stop my brain from creating the next thing that just came to my mind. And some people would say like I live in this like dream world of just visions, but that's who I am. And I had to get out of the headspace of like doing it for a purpose, and just knowing that like that's feeding my soul, and it doesn't matter if it's not the prettiest, or someone's not going to see it, or pay money for it. Like it doesn't, you know. So
it sounds like you've come to a place where you understand the idea of perfection doesn't need to be met, that how you show up and how you create and how you connect is just perfectly fine.
And that was all like when we met, you know, and I had heard you say that, I was like, she just took those words out from what I want to be able to say. But I think still it's difficult. Do you ever find like when you're in this space of people look to you for being the, I don't want to say end all be all of a certain idea, but like if we put it out there, then I think people think that is who we are through and through. But
absolutely,
the actuality is that we have our bad days or know our weaknesses. And so as much as I live in a very empowered mindset of loving to build women up and really talk about like our positive attributes, there are still times and seasons of my life that I feel intense heaviness and darkness, and that perfectionism rears its head like, you know, I can't ignore it. And that's been a part of, you know, the surgery that I went through last year, and really stripping away my physicality and the things that I rested on. And I was like, all right, Tamra, if you don't have these things that were your kind of like protected layers, then what do you have after that? And it was tons of digging and realizing that I did have a really big perfectionist issue. And that, you know, obviously those stem from childhood and trying to like be the best so that you could be loved more, or you get seen or be heard, and like all these, you know, child wounds that we deal with in our adulthood, or if you choose to deal with them when they come up, you're like, I see it everywhere in everything I do. I'm like, I want to teach them how to make this recipe. Oh no, I'm not a chef. I don't know how to get the best lighting.
Right.
They're gonna care. I'm not gonna do it. So you stifle your ability to create and your ability to serve, because this ugly perfectionism is on this shoulder. And I'm like, what a disservice to humanity, you know, when
not just to yourself, but to others.
And I had to get into that headspace. And so I think just like in you saying that, it's a reminder to me that you still have moments in anything you venture into, I'm sure, in being a stepmom, in like just any walk of life. I mean, I know I was in a relationship where I had to be a stepmom. Not had to be, I got to be. It was an incredible experience for 2 years. And it taught me so much about myself and about what my capabilities were, my weak points were. And every day is an opportunity for you to like let that little voice of not being worthy or not being good enough, and just checking that all the time, you know?
Absolutely. You again, it's the same language, and only you're saying it and I'm thinking it, because I definitely had my own personal battles with that. And I was trying to find out, I did all this kind of like reading. I was looking for podcasts on how like to be the best stepmom. And I realized that, you know, what was said wouldn't necessarily fit for me. And then the whole journey, as you know, I actually, maybe you did tell me, but I've forgotten, but I forgot that you did play like a stepmom to somebody. And that was a really big learning process.
Yeah.
But keeping this more about you, right?
This is us.
No, I love it.
I'm a Leo. It's always about me. It could be about you today.
It can go back and forth. We'll put it that way. But you actually mentioned something that I wanted to touch on. I actually think it's really, really beautiful that you, as far as I'm concerned, are one of the pioneers to actually speak about having breast implants, going through some type of illness, and then choosing to have them removed. And what you're sharing with your community is so profound. And I know this because I've seen what you post on your IG stories and your reason, which I think is really beautiful, because I post those too, and I receive the most amazing kind of like testimonies or just you know, gratitude from people, and I'm like, you're a perfect stranger on the other side of the world, and that does something to it does something to your soul.
Crazy.
And I noticed that you do that constantly, especially with this story and journey about the removal of your breast implants. You spoke about having to do the digging to find out perhaps your self-love, or define like, who is Tamra outside of this physical self that you presented to the world. When did the digging happen? Did it happen, say, before you chose to do it, or did it happen like once your breast implants were removed? Did you find like, okay, oh my gosh, who am I with this new body? What was the process with that? I was actually
so we got how much time? So to be really honest, I've always been an introspective person by nature. I think I'm an intellect who loves to self-analyze, and sometimes to my, you know, default, I'm like too self-critical. But I love digging and figuring out like what makes me be the way that I am and stuff like that. So prior to me getting them out, I was I mean, how real do you want to get with this audience? Are they?
I would love to get as real as you're willing to be real.
Because I know this is like a fitness television show,
but
not
necessarily.
I think fitness has to do with health and wellness, and true wellness is a mental thing. So I'm very transparent with my audience. So I'll be forthright with them. I have some sexual traumas in my past from when I was a kid, and I was getting triggered a year before surgery, really bad, where I thought I had worked on it in therapy, and all of a sudden it was coming up, and a lot of it had to do with being a stepmom to a young girl, and I was seeing so many similarities to her personality and mine, and it was making me remember things about myself as a kid that I had locked away and thrown out, and my subconscious had totally blocked it. So as beautiful as the relationship was, I was finding myself like in these dark spaces where I just couldn't get myself out of it. So I threw myself into therapy. I was going once a week because I was like, I have to nip this in the butt. I need to show up for this child. I need to show up for my relationship. I need to show up for my life. And I'm not afraid to do the digging, right? I knew it was
work.
The work. I knew it was going to be tough. I didn't know it was going to lead me on this insane of a journey. So I throw myself into therapy. Now, at the same time, I had been physically very sick, but I had no idea what was causing it. But, you know, being an athlete, I think I've always been naturally like push through. That's like my mentality. You just push through, and
resiliency, determination. Yeah.
And I'm a really relatively healthy person with my immune system. So it blew my mind that I could be having any kind of ailment that wasn't like something I would just beat and move through. But it had been when I really like stopped to think about it, it'd been about 6 months that I had pneumonia, like back to back to back. And I was getting antibiotics, and you're talking to a person that I don't take Advil, Tylenol, you know, like I just don't put like pharmaceuticals in my body. And so they had me on all these antibiotics, which, you know, is like so harmful for your liver, and they couldn't figure out. All my test results came back normal. And the craziest thing, Lita, that was like so debilitating to me was it wasn't just my physicality, that I could push through those. I was still doing fitness videos. I was still, you know, showing up as much as I could, not letting people in on like how I couldn't breathe. I had so much like water in my chest and stuff, and I was just really, I was losing weight very, very fast, and I wasn't letting people onto that, but my brain started giving out on me. Like when you get silicone poisoning, it affects your entire neurological system. So I was finding myself like mid conversation just being like, what were we just talking about for the last like 30 minutes? Like everything. And I consider myself an intelligent person who can articulate things and with kind of a vast vocabulary. And it was like everything left me. So I started freaking out like I have a brain tumor or something, you know? And when I start not being able to communicate how I'm feeling or what's going on, I I go with it, and I shut down, and I really turned into like a recluse. And the only thing I did was, you know, watch his kid, make dinner, like do what I could do and show up like that. But then I would sleep for like 18 hours. So basically I started doing the work because I was forced to. Like I was brought to my knees of trying to figure out what could be possibly wrong with me, and then literally starting to make plans for like, if this is my death, what do I want to do with myself?
Wow.
You know? And looking back, I mean, it was a lot. It was scarier because it was the unknown. I look back now and I'm like, well, it wasn't that serious, but because you're being told you're healthy and you're like becoming basically debilitated, I was in a real gray area. So I would say that like I was really forced into doing the work because I had no other choice. And then when finally I was like divinely led to this page by a friend of mine who was going through breast cancer. She's only 28. She lives in Australia, and actually like a fellow bodybuilder. I don't think you would know her, but she's just a beautiful soul. And she's like, babe, all your symptoms sound like mine, but I know you don't have it because you've tested for it. So why don't you go on this guy's page? He does like these kind of like protocols and detoxes, and he's the medical medium. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's a phenomenal page. And when I went on it, I just so happened the first post that I clicked on was this girl who was talking about doing a detox after her breast implants almost killed her. And I was like, it was the first time like in 6 years of having them I'd ever heard that there could be something wrong with them. Wow. You hear like they could rupture, or you hear that they could leak. You never hear that like they could be killing you. Like at least that wasn't the narrative back when I was going through this. So I just started like down the rabbit hole. I'm like on her page. Then she talked about this other girl, and then I start doing all the research about implants and what they can cause and all the like autoimmune effects of it. And I'm like 37 symptoms later that
taking them off.
Wow. Going, holy crap, like this is the only thing nobody's told me could possibly be it. But then it sets in like, damn, is this really what I'm gonna have to do to get better? And you have no doctor telling you that it will, because it's not medically recognized. I saw like 7 or 8 plastic surgeons that gave me the runaround about, you're not gonna like the way you look, no one's gonna love you, like you're gonna be deformed.
I mean, that's the actual verbiage that they would actually share.
I wish I would have recorded it. I felt like I was in the twilight zone. Like these men, and I hate to say it, but they were all men plastic surgeons that were like looking at the physical effects, and they were like, oh, but I can get you better ones. Those ones you have are bad. We can change them out and go bigger. We can just make them like, wow. And I'm sitting there like, I'm telling you, I'm dying inside and I just want them out. Why can't you hear me, you know? Right. So by my 9th one, I gave up. I was like, this is not going to happen for me. Like, I better just get used to being sick like this. And then out of nowhere, my dad, who's a chiropractor, was like, I have a patient who is a plastic surgeon. Just give him a call. I told him about your situation. And he got me in the next morning at 8 a.m. And a week later, I had surgery. Like, he was not playing. He was like, you are in terrible shape. And he's like, I believe you. And I believe that this is what is causing it. And you know what? The divine timing of it all, after my surgery, he saw the effects of how I healed like the day after, and I've never been sick since that day. And he stopped doing implants right there. So he now does no implants. He's like all silicone free, which is unheard of for plastic surgeons. That's like their cash cow. Right. And so it for me, I saw if I can affect a doctor in that way, and I can affect the change of mentality just in one person and what that can affect, like, I think I need to talk about this and use my voice to spread the awareness to other women and even girls that are looking to get them, because the information's not out there being told accurately to them, that they're not like when, like if it's gonna happen to you, it's literally just when they're gonna make you sick. And like, I don't like being the bearer of bad news like that, but that's just the nature of what happens when you put something foreign in a body temperature that is where we're at, not in the air at like 70 degrees. You know, you're talking in the high 90s, and you don't think there's going to be a breakdown of that material and it's going to start going into your bloodstream. And so, you know, it's funny because I never thought my kind of emotional mental journey would take me to talking about boobs all the time. Sometimes I'm just flabbergasted. Like, I'm so done talking about titties, but I know how important this work is, and I know how clueless I was and how desperate I was for somebody to say, I hear you, I get it, I'm there with you. And so if I can just be that kind of like light for girls, I'm gonna keep talking about it until I'm blue in the face, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because essentially you're talking about life and death too. It's not like a temporary whatnot. You're talking about ultimate health, which leads down a really bad path. So, because you're just educating me. So just so I have this correct, because I'll be honest, I have contemplated getting breast implants.
Wait, why? You have
right. I realized only recently that it sounds kind of like ignorant, because like I always have this thing where I don't want to have big breasts, right? Because that's my thing. I don't necessarily want to have larger breasts.
Did you just want them like perkier?
Yes. And most of my friends are like, yeah, girl, I'm going to wait till this is, I kid you not, 90% of my friends, I'm going to drop some babies. And after those babies, I'm going to get these suckers done. I'm just going to get me some nice implants. And I kid you not, a lot of them aren't into this idea of wanting to go bigger. It's just always just about a perfect size, nice and perky, so I can just fit these dresses nicely. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely one of those people. So if you're telling me that if I go down this path of research, no one is essentially going to tell me that if I put a foreign object in my body, it will indefinitely, matter of time, lead to bad health. No one's going to tell me that.
Well, no plastic surgeon is going to tell you that. There are some doctors out there that are now finally becoming aware, as if they like didn't know these things. The FDA did know. They put it on the packages, but the women never saw the packages because they were already under anesthesia. There's so much, girl. I'm actually going to be starting my own series about talking about the real side of these things, and just real side of like the lies behind plastic surgery and stuff like that. But I think it's important for women to know that we are a commodity for this industry, and the more we can be insecure about ourselves, the more money that they're going to make. And you know, there's gray area. Like, I'm not sitting here saying like I'm not gonna wear makeup, I'm not gonna dye my hair, because like I went all the way on that side because I was so against like what was happening. And then I was like, you know what, Tamra, there are still things that like make me feel good about myself, and I'm not gonna stop being that way until I feel like I don't want to. But everything's like in everyone's own time, right? And I'm never gonna force someone to be like, you gotta believe this way and do it this way, otherwise you're not being true to yourself or being natural or like all these things. Like, I'm not a judgmental person whatsoever, but when I do feel like I know this and we're being lied to, it's like a duty to tell women, men who have sisters, daughters, wives, this is actually happening to us. They do not care, because their pockets are being so heavily lined by the implant industries, which are owned by publicly traded companies, and then they're in bed with big pharma. So if women get sick, which they will get sick, they're going to need medication to combat all the symptoms. There are like 67, there might be even more known symptoms that they cause, that there's a pill to fix it, cure it, combat it, whatever. So it's like this cycle, right? And they keep
it's perpetual too.
Yeah, and then also know that if you get implants once, you're probably going to get them again or need them fixed, because we have this whole idea in our mind of like how perfect they're going to look, and they never turn out that way ever the first time out. Wow. Thankful I didn't go in for my second one. I just had this like intuitive feeling that I don't know, they didn't like vibe with me from the beginning, but I also didn't want to go under the knife again. So I just dealt with them for, 6 years. But some women stay sick I talked to women that have been sick for 20 years and had no idea what was going on with them. They've had hysterectomies, they've had lupus and Crohn's disease and MS and all these, autoimmune responses to having a foreign entity in their body. And so the link was never made because people assumed if it's in your breast, then it's things in your breast that are going to be the problem if your implants are the problem, like breast cancer or things having to do with breast tissue. But they weren't correlating, at least not on paper or not in medical journals, correlating types of cancers throughout the body, because that silicone microparticles flows through the bloodstream, and now you're having like lymphomas of like the neck and in your liver and in your ovaries, thus the hysterectomies at like mid-20s. It's like just mind-blowing. And for me, the textured implants that I had that were told to be even safer than the other ones, turns out they cause, but it's called BIA-ALCL, which is a type of lymphoma cancer that you now have to get tested for if you had those implants. And thank God I tested negative for it. But it's because the texture like sloughs off even quicker into the bloodstream. And so then that travels throughout your whole body and you end up with cancers throughout your body. So there's like so many sides to the lies that it's like, it's too vast. And I feel like if I don't keep talking about it, I don't know, that it will get swept under the rug, because the lawsuits came out in the 90s and they were all silenced because of how much money they had. And so we're talking, so many years later, we're still having this conversation, but now we have social media. And so I'm like, well, if God put me in this position to have this platform, I need to, the microphone's on you, Tamra. Like, what are you going to do with this power and this, ability to share your story? And though it may not be the cutest or the most friggin' amazing story to tell, it wasn't the story I thought I was getting on social media.
It's an amazing story.
But it's a matter of, I want to change the narrative around how women look at themselves and use the word so easily. Like, even when you said like, oh, I just wanted them perkier, cuter in dresses, it's like, I'm sorry, but me too, we're brainwashed to believe those things are going to make us just a little bit more desirable, a little bit more happy, a little bit more confident in ourselves. And I had to really assess the language I was using when I talked about myself, like just even being re-traumatized by the doctors being like, don't have, if you get them out, let's put something else in because you'll look deformed. I'm like, well, what's deformed to you? Like having boobs that are flat, or scars, or, one a little bit different or flat. I mean, like, I just had never really like thought about the language we use to describe, our, and especially in the fitness world, we are like meticulous with what we're looking at, right? So it's like an inch here, an imperfection here. And then I got into this world of women that were coming to me like, yeah, I had a mastectomy. I have scars. I don't have nipples. I don't have nothing. I have scars. And I'm like, I'm over here talking about, I have like, an inch of breast tissue, but I have nipples that can feel things, and I have a scar, but it's hidden. And these women are over here saying like, I had cancer, I beat that, I had breast implants put in, they almost killed me more than the cancer, and now I have a flat chest with giant scars across it. What do I do to feel beautiful? Because the narrative around beauty is like, you better have something up there to be feminine, something up there to be desired. And so I looked to the community of women that were going through this, and I was like, you know what, Tamra, like, check yourself, because there are these women that are just rocking it, like rocking their scars and feeling like their truest selves. And so I changed my whole idea of like what it to me is being feminine, because I fought my whole life. I fought this battle of trying to be more feminine.
Right.
You know, growing up with
I think we
muscles, I'm
discussed
sure that's what we
met,
discussed.
right?
Yeah.
I think we discussed being athletes, being more naturally muscular, and then we get, you know, the idea of being, I know I competed, I know you hadn't competed, but you were definitely in that world.
I competed, yeah.
Oh, you competed as well? So it's like, and then we fight these stereotypes of like, oh, women aren't supposed to look like that. You look manly, and et cetera, et cetera. So like, I love that you mentioned having to redefine what beauty is for yourself. Like, I speak about self-love all the time, which makes me almost kind of like, it's almost really hypocritical of me to say, well, I just want to look better in my dress. And I think about, like, what does that actually mean? Do I not think I look beautiful in this dress already without, you know, these great, perfectly sized, perky boobs?
Yeah.
And I have, my boyfriend is like, oh my gosh, I will kill you myself if you ever go under the knife. Like, he thinks I'm just perfectly perfect. But yet I still deal with this. Well, I think I could be better. And as somebody that takes a lot of pride, especially in speaking with young girls about what it actually means to have self-love, I do find myself going, oh wow, I'm not all the way there myself.
We're not, and we're never there. And it's
not right. It's a journey.
Having that self-love is also having the understanding that it's not our fault. It's been ingrained in us from before we chose this life. You know, we're born into a world that tells us, oh, your baby has such cute hair. She's pretty. Oh, her hair's, you know, it's a little crazy. Oh, you know, she's like, we hear from the time our brains are forming that we're either going to fit into the category of beautiful, pretty, cute, or the category of hope she's talented in something. You know, hope she's
absolutely,
you know, hope she's good at accounting. You know, like we're just, those are like the two categories. And I was bullied so much for being, you know, big, crazy, curly, kinky hair and bad skin and muscular, that I thought I desperately needed to switch that narrative for myself to be accepted. And that took 20 something years, you know, like 20 something years to just get to the place where I was like, damn, I have a problem. Like, I spent my whole life trying to love myself through battling the thing that was alienating me from my truest self from the get. So like that awakening, it was really hard to wrap my head around. And I'll be honest, I'm still wrapping my head around it because I'm only a year out of surgery. And that was the catalyst for like the unearthing of all my insecurities, because you get implants because you're insecure. Regardless of what women want to say, there's something in you that gets them because you're trying to fix, alter, perfect, whatever, something about yourself, that you get them. And then, okay, maybe your life changes a little bit, maybe it doesn't, whatever. But then you remove them and you're left with all that shit you didn't deal with before you got them, and scars, and a new body you don't know, and possibly, like for me, a loss of relationships, opportunities, all these things that came with, you know, losing with the surgery. And it was like, I have to grieve my whole life. I'm not just grieving losing my boobs. I'm grieving the like loss of the whole entity of Tamra prior to surgery. The girl who never took the time to look at what my, you know, what my soul wanted to do on this planet before trying to just, okay, I got the money, I'm gonna fix this, I got the opportunity to do this, I'm gonna get this and this and this, and this is gonna make me better, and this is gonna make, this relationship's gonna level me up. And that's like, it was a constant level up. And I love my girl Sierra, love her to death, but I also feel like that's what's killing us, is this constant competition with ourselves, with everybody else. Now it's not just other women. Now us women are trying to compete for the jobs and opportunities men have. So we have this like constant bombardment of like, I'm never gonna get there. This idea of there being somewhere that we need to get. And when you use the word hypocritical earlier, it hit me because that was the first thing I thought when I unearthed this whole beast after surgery. I was like, I've been a hypocrite for the last X amount of years on social media, talking about empowering women to own their bodies and be, you know, confident in their bodies and love whatever body type you have in whatever phase it's in. And I'm like, I've been living a freaking lie. And it hit me like, I don't deserve to be here. And I went into such a dark place because I felt undeserving of the position I was in and undeserving of any type of love or admiration or adoration or people saying, oh, you inspire me. I felt like, miss me with all that because it's not for me. I didn't get here on my own. But finding that true self-love was the forgiveness that this has been my path. This has been my journey that I had to walk down. And it hasn't been easy. And it's been a lot of moments of like, damn, Tamra, you thought you knew a lot better than that, but now you know a little bit better, so we can do a little bit better. You're still probably not going to know a lot down the road, and then you're going to have to do better than that, but it's like...
It's true. It's a journey.
Yeah.
Speaking of self-love, Tamra, how do you define self-love for yourself?
It's ever evolving, but right now for me, it's to live in my authentic moment to moment truth, being honest with myself and transparent with myself and with others, and just like being at peace with that.
Yeah.
At that moment, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not the kind of woo woo self love that they, you know. And it can't be wrapped up in an awesome quote, as much as I do love my quote.
No,
it can't be wrapped up in that. For me, it just has to be each moment accepting that this is as much as I knew when I made the decision, when I treated myself like that, when I said those things, being willing to be wrong, being willing to not have been the bigger person or the better person in every situation. Like forgiving myself and others is like truly my journey to self-love, because
absolutely,
that's been a hard thing for me. When you're hard on yourself, when you're a driven, ambitious person, I think we oftentimes like give ourselves very little margin of error, you know, for that.
Well, you also mentioned the word peace, and I definitely equate self-love with this idea of peace as well, because as you mentioned before, like we grow up in this idea of coding, right? We subscribe to what everybody and what society is saying is supposed to be beautiful. This is what it looks like to be smart, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We subscribe to that just consciously as we grow up. And I think, you know, when you speak of, you know, having to redefine that for yourself, I found myself starting off in social media by saying, this is what self-love is. Because I was essentially defining it for myself, telling other people this is what self-love is. And then I realized, oh shit, self-love should only be defined for yourself. And so what I noticed is when I ask people how to define self-love, the common denominator is the idea of peace, is having peace in each moment, in each hour, each day, that I am totally, perfectly fine to be exactly who I am. Yes, I can admit to having to improve. Yes, I can admit without ego saying I have improved, but this idea of just being peaceful, I think, is a really beautiful word to use when you define what self-love is for you. Because that, to me, I think is a common denominator when I ask people how to define that for themselves. So I appreciate you sharing that.
You know, when you talk about like peace, and even like, I think some people think of peace as like an Eastern philosophy, like meditative state of like, that's over there, that's something to achieve. We can't,
like very whimsical and
being at peace, like I'll just be chill and that's fine, like watch some Netflix. But like, I didn't know what peace was until you hit like a version of chaos that feels like I can't live in this brain anymore, like it won't shut off, it won't. And I was, again, like introduced to the idea that for me, maybe meditation was the only thing that was going to get me there. And I was doing the therapy. I was, you know, training harder and eating well and working out. And it's just all these things that I thought would bring me a sense of peace. And it wasn't until I had to like really go within and do the meditation. I mean, starting at like 1 minute at a time, because my brain is so all over the place, and people saying like, oh, I can never meditate. I was like, no, like I could really, I'm the poster child of like, can't get my brain to shut off. And it's just about dedicating yourself to something that you believe you're worthy of. I'm worthy of having peace at any moment. And through this process of now I've been meditating, I'm not extremely consistent, but I try every single day to do at least 10 to 20 minutes, is that I got to this place about now, I'd say 2 years almost of a year and a half of meditating, that and finding kind of my relationship with God through this whole thing, is that we as a society are so programmed to hate the word comfortable and complacent. And I had to redefine those to me, because you can be like comfortable in the space you're in, but it could be chaos all around you, or it could be unknown and you could not know what your next 10 steps are going to be. And that can feel really scary. But if you can find comfort, and to me, like that's peace in the unknown, in the chaos, in the everything around me swirling, but I'm okay with that. I can take a breath and it not feel like I need to run away. It doesn't mean I don't want more. It doesn't mean I don't want to strive for more or push myself. It just means like I'm okay with things being right here. But as a driven person, and you're trying to prove yourself, you get so turned off by the word comfortable or complacent, or like just being like still in the moment. It's something that like our nerves aren't even set up for, you know?
Yes. So. No, I love that you say that, because I find that stillness is something that I personally aspire to.
Yeah.
Like stillness, if someone thinks that stillness is being complacent or being lazy or and not ambitious
that was
enough.
A big word. It rattles.
For me, I'm like, oh, that's fine. That's okay, because stillness literally in essence is what I personally achieve. I'm even in my own meditation, I'm the same way. I practice meditation. I preach about it all the time, because I think it's something that the whole world should be doing. But like I literally only have like 5 to 10 minutes of just pure peace on my own. But like I am just always focused on stillness, because in having to flush away all these labels, all these things, to stay still in my own self has been such, it's like being in a candy store for a kid. I just feel so alive knowing that I can just be, I don't know how I can just talk in circles. I'm sure.
Well, no, because as you're saying,
it feels so good.
As you're saying that, I'm having this kind of realization. To me, being able to connect on this level, be heard, be seen, know that there's someone else who understands in this conversation, I find extreme stillness in it, extreme peace in it. There may be things happening around me. There may be emails I need to send off. There may be things that need to get done. But to me, like being in your present moment and having that awareness that I'm here right now, I'm not going anywhere, I'm where I need to be. Nothing's gonna change outside of here that's gonna wreck my whole world. To find peace in that is something I could have never done before. And just like, I just wanted that. And so like, thank you for even having this opportunity to show me that is the growth of someone who is transforming, is that when you can find those moments and being like, I've done a lot of work to get to this place.
Exactly. And someone really wise, who I consider a mentor, said to me, for somebody that likes to, I always consider myself a go-getter. I love creating opportunities for myself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He said, what will be for you in this life will be. It will happen. Don't feel like you have to catch everything falling from the sky. What you catch from the sky is what's for you. What you don't catch is not for you. So don't be in this constant battle of always having to have everything. Know that what comes to you is your everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I found so much peace in just that idea, that it kind of released me from this. I am not jealous of other people and their things. In fact, I am thrilled when people get opportunity and have these opportunities, because I know that was for them. That in this lifetime, that is for you.
That is massive,
and
because
yeah,
there's
it's
so
so
much
peaceful.
of us that like that plays into the comparison game of like, oh, but they have this that I thought I could probably do that. I could do this. And like, as someone who's driven, you probably know, like, you think every opportunity that comes in front of you, you're like, I gotta take this. I gotta take this. And then all of a sudden you're just like flat, burnt out, or feeling like I can't contribute anything because I'm pulled in so many different directions. And ultimately you're good for none of them because you've tried to take on everything because you just feel like that's how I'm going to be, you know, remembered, is by doing all these things. And I love that you got that from him, that it's like, that is one of the greatest lessons to, I think, finding fulfillment, is like, what is meant for you is for you, like nothing else beyond that.
And it's such a simple concept. It's like this idea of, it brings me to so much peace. And I don't, you know, I'm still a competitive person, but I'm no longer that person that says, well, damn, like, I feel like I'm doing that. Why didn't that come to me? Or I feel like I'm just as talented. I should be. None of that ever exists in my psyche anymore. And I'm so content with it that allows me to show up to be my best self, because I'm so at peace with knowing that whatever falls in my lap was meant for me, and what doesn't fall in my lap was not meant for me. It's that simple. So I love that.
I feel like, did you read the Surrender Experiment? You read
no, is that something that you told me that's something I should look into? Because I remember you commented on something and said, oh, it was a book.
Yeah, it's a book.
I screenshot it, but I can't remember what it was.
If I didn't tell you, I feel like you just quoted it, but the whole story is how he just surrenders to opportunities that come his way or don't come his way, and he didn't force anything for years, and his story is phenomenal. And it just, to me, it's something I try to it's like a daily, if not minute to minute, hour by hour reminder of like, go with what is for you, go literally with the flow of it. Don't try to stress about what should. Get rid of the word should. Every time you hear yourself, catch yourself saying that, just like cut that out, and just keep surrendering to what is happening around you, and do whatever you can do in that moment for it. And like, I think that like solves the mystery of like not feeling like you're doing enough. If you just put your effort into like what is coming to you, it's you're still pushing forward, but you're not looking in 10 different directions trying to do a million things to prove your worth. But it's something that, not only living in this time, but being on social media, being in the fitness industry, and just, I think, being a woman, that those are the things that plague us, and that are a constant reminder of like, we could be doing better for ourselves. Like,
I'm telling you, that is a perfect. Listen, I could talk to you all day. I know I can.
I know. I don't know how long it's been, to be honest.
Seriously, it's been a winner. And I also know they cut us off after an hour, and like literally an hour is gone like that. So you ended this conversation perfectly. I had a bunch of questions, Tamra, but I love that the conversation just went really organically, and you were sharing so much of your light. I'm so grateful again for this time. So what I want to do now is just finish off with what we call like a rapid question game. This is a little bit, and they're quirky, nothing too serious, but whatever comes to mind, I want to hear it. We'll do this before they cut us off, and then we can end by saying a big thank you. All right, you ready?
Ready.
Simple stuff. Your favorite song to exercise to?
Ooh, anything R&B. I'm the weirdest person.
Okay, R&B. Okay, I take that. Wine or champagne?
Wine. Red.
Okay. Favorite cheat meal?
Ooh, oh my God. In-N-Out.
In-N-Out. I'll take it. What would you say your spirit animal is?
Ooh, I'm definitely a lion.
Yeah.
That's why, like,
as a Leo woman, we can relate.
Yeah.
How about this? One person that you would like to have a conversation with?
Jada Pinkett Smith.
We are the same person. I'm convinced. We are the same.
If she's listening,
I say the same shit. I say, oh my gosh,
here
Jada,
knows her. Tell her I need to have a conversation We need to have a conversation.
Tell Jada. Tell her. Tamra Dae wants to talk. I literally say, oh my gosh, Jada Pinkett and then Will. Oh my God, if I could just sit at the red table and talk to the whole family, I want to do that. They're just so insightful, and I love the way we are the same person. A few more questions. Bath or shower?
Shower.
Perfect.
All day.
Favorite? Okay, I'm not going to ask you that one. Favorite at-home exercise, but we don't care about those types of things today. One thing you would tell your 16-year-old self. It doesn't have to be deep and profound.
Have fun.
Yay. I love that. I love that. Sneakers or stilettos?
Ooh. Heels.
Oh, out of everyone I've spoken to, they've said sneakers. So you're the first person to say, get me in a pair of sexy stilettos. With a pair of legs like that, you know why?
You know what? It's like a workout in a fashion moment. You don't even have to go to the gym. Your calves get worked. It's good. Go.
I love that. There you go. Last and final question before I let you go about your day, I promise. Name something that is on your bucket list that you haven't yet accomplished.
Oh my God, if I say it on here, I'm going to have to stick to it. And this is going to I'm going to go skydiving. I'm deathly afraid of heights, but I'm going to go skydiving.
There you go. It's out there in the universe.
I got to hold
one day we're going to see that. We're going to see that footage on Instagram. You're hard to hear, guys. Tamra, I am, for somebody that doesn't actually know you like too well personally, we've only met one time, and what you shared in that conversation, in that meeting when we did meet, I truly found like a genuine connection with you. After speaking with you for this whole hour, I totally get we have a lot more in common than I initially thought. I'm so proud, woman to woman. I'm so proud of the entrepreneur that you are and the person that you're becoming. Keep using your platform to educate women, especially about the passion that you have about breast implants. Please, please, please never feel like that message is something that you were stuck with saying and talking about forever. It's saving people's lives, and I'm so grateful for you and this time. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'm just so grateful.
Let's get my tissues. Thanks.
Oh, seriously, thank you so much. In a
time
like this, we should all share and shine our lights, whatever talent that may be. And you, my friend, are doing that. And I'm just really grateful that you spent some time with us here on Hello Fitness TV.
Thank you for having me. And we'll do this again. I'm so
for sure. For sure. Once this is all said and done, we live in the same city. I'd love to connect with you.
Let's do a real one. Yes.
For sure. All right. Tell Donnie I said hi.
I will.
Your fairy baby.
I will. Bye.
Bye, hon. Have a good day.
You too.